Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the LAER and its unique variant. This is a very unique weapon that you can find in the Old World Blues DLC. This one is one of the premier energy weapons of that DLC, which that DLC actually has quite a few energy weapons. So the LAER functions somewhat similar to the laser rifle, although it does have a much slower rate of fire than something like the laser rifle. The regular LAER can be found across Old World Blues, as well as you can buy it from the sink. The sink sells this, so you can always get one of these, which is pretty nice. This one requires 75 energy weapons and 4 strength in order to wield, so fairly high energy weapons but low strength, which is awesome. This one does 65 damage per shot, which is quite high, 163 damage per second. Even though this one does shoot slower than a laser rifle, it still shoots fairly fast compared to other weapons, and it has really high damage per second because of that. This one only does 15 crit damage. For some reason, the LAER actually does vastly reduced crit damage compared to its regular damage. I don't think that's necessarily a problem though, because it already has pretty high base damage and pretty high damage per second, so hitting extra crit damage on top of that would make this already pretty crazy weapon even more insane. This has a 1.5 times crit modifier though, so it has an increased chance of hitting crits, which is good. This one costs 32 action points to use in VATS, making it a decent action point option. It's not one of the best for energy weapons. There are some other ones, but this one isn't bad. This one holds 20 rounds in it. This has 0.08 spread. It actually is quite accurate. That's a little bit less accurate than some of the other laser weapons, but it's still quite accurate compared to other guns. Sometimes I have noticed the laser just goes off though, for some reason. It just goes completely off of center. I don't know why that is. It's just some sort of variation with some of the laser weapons like this one. This one weighs 4 weight, so it is very lightweight, and this one has 75 item health, so very low item HP. For the pros of the LAER and its unique variant, this one has really high damage and really high damage per second. This is fantastic for an energy weapon build. It just kills through just about everything really fast, and it has a great ammo. Microfusion cells are fantastic. They're also a very common ammo, so that's really good. The major cons to this weapon are the low crits. Having only 15 crit damage on both the regular one and the unique one kind of sucks compared to other energy weapons. It's not the worst, but it is a downside to the weapon. And the major con to this weapon is that it has very low item HP. Both this one and the unique one have very low item HP and can break really fast. Even more so if you want to load in something like the max cells, which we can talk about the ammos here in a second. But if you load that in, it's going to break really quick, which is a little bit annoying. There are some perks that help out with these though. There's 2 in particular that I'd like to talk about. One is Laser Commander. Laser Commander works for this because this does count as a laser weapon, which makes it so you're more likely to hit crits. That is pretty good for this particular weapon, even though it can hit crits pretty often. Making sure that you hit crits even more often is always good, even if those crits aren't the strongest. And Meltdown is really good for just having extra crowd control, since you can kill an enemy and have it blow up and deal damage to other nearby enemies. That one's always nice on any sort of energy weapon build, so long as you're not standing too close to them, because the explosion can hurt you too. 4 different ammos. We have the regular microfusion cells that you can load into this, which do regular damage but punch through some armor, which is pretty nice. Bulk cells, which make it so you don't have any armor breaking, but they do less damage, and they do less damage to your gun. These can be okay, but I really wouldn't be using them in the LAER. You have the overcharge cells. These ones deal more damage, punch through more armor, but break your weapon a bit faster. Max cells, which do the maximum amount of damage, punch through the most armor, but also break your weapon incredibly fast, even more so with the LAER. This can be a tempting option to carry these around, because the LAER does have such high damage and damage per second that if you load these in, it can deal even more damage and damage per second. So it can be really good if you're fighting things like Death Claws or any of the big scary enemies, but you don't want to be loading them in regularly into the LAER if you plan on using this as your general purpose weapon. If you want to do that, I'd recommend the last cells, which are the optimized cells. These ones give you more damage, more armor breaking, and break your weapon only slightly faster. I think those ones are the best option overall for the LAER if you want to be using it as a general purpose weapon, but it's not a bad thing to be carrying around max cells so that you can kill those big enemies a little bit quicker. For an overall rating for the base LAER, I'm actually pretty tempted just to put this one up into S tier. I think it's really good by itself. It's a very strong weapon. It doesn't really have much of a downside besides it breaking fast, and if you have weapon repair kits, you don't really have to worry about that. If you have jury rigging, you also don't really have to worry about that, or just an excess of money to where you can just keep buying these from the sink. You could also fix them up that way. That's the only real major downside to this. The LAER also has 2 mods that you can get. You can get these in Old World Blues, and you can attach them to your weapon. You will need to buy them from the sink, but you can buy an unlimited amount of them in the sink, just like the regular LAERs. So you have the auxiliary recharger chip. This one recycles 1 round for every 4 shots, so you get ammo back every time you're using it. That's kind of nice, but not really necessary for a weapon like this. You're usually not running out of microfusion cells, but I mean, this just makes it so they go further, so it's nothing but a bonus. And then you also have the prismatic lens. This one splits your beam into 3 beams that increase your total amount of damage by 30%. At least that's what it says in the wiki. In-game, you just see it multiplied by 2, which is kind of strange, by like 2 beams. And I think that this one is bugged similar to how the laser rifle's beam splitter is also bugged, to where it's supposed to give you a second beam that gives you 30% more damage. That's not the case though, it actually just gives you a second beam, and I believe it's the same way on the LAER, to where you just get a second beam for just double the amount of damage for no reason. So that's even stronger and makes this a really strong weapon overall. Definitely mod this one out, at least with the prismatic lens. And I would put this one also up in S tier. The modified version is even better than the regular version. And now we also have the unique version to talk about too, which is Elijah's LAER. And this one, you can find 2 of these laying around in Old World Blues, and you can take both of these if you would like. This is a gun from Elijah that was modified while he was in Big Mountain. He has this one there and the Tesla cannon, interestingly enough, so you can get both of them while you're there. This one requires 75 energy weapons and 4 strength in order to wield as well. This one does 65 damage on hit, same as the regular LAER, but it has slightly higher DPS at 179, so it attacks a little bit quicker than the regular one. Still the same 15 crit damage, the same 1.5 times crit modifier, the same 32 action points, the same spread at 0.8. This one only holds 15 rounds in the magazine though, so it holds 5 less than the regular LAER. Still weighs 408, and this one has less item health than the regular LAER at 50 rather than 75. So this one breaks even faster. It can actually break incredibly quick. This one you could honestly say is just a downgrade from the LAER, because it does have a slightly faster rate of fire, but it has less ammo overall and it has less health overall, and that's going to be like the major con towards this weapon. So I'm still going to put this one up into S tier, but it is slightly weaker than the regular LAER just overall. I don't know why that is. You feel like it would do something else, and it sort of does with the fast rate of fire, and that doesn't matter too much when you're comparing the two of them. Elijah's LAER is also unique in a different way though, and that is that you can also modify this one too. So if you want to put the auxiliary recharger chip and the prismatic lens onto Elijah's LAER, you can absolutely do that, and it will just be as strong as a regular LAER, just with less item HP, slightly higher rate of fire, and less ammo overall. Still potentially a downgrade from just the modified LAER, so I'm also going to say the modded version of this is also up into S tier. These weapons are quite strong. They're some of the best energy weapons in the game. Definitely some of the best energy rifles in the game. I don't always use the LAER, I actually don't use it very often at all, because most of the time I'll use like the modded laser rifle, or I'll use the unique plasma rifle as like a general purpose weapon. And then if I want a heavy damaging weapon similar to the LAER, I usually end up going with the Gauss rifle. But whenever I have used the LAERs, they are very powerful too. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Tell me your thoughts on the LAER and Elijah's version of the LAER. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.